Okay, so first ever live broadcast, guys. Thank you all for tuning in, and anyone who's watching back, much appreciated. It's really weird because I've got my webcam in front of me and I've got Instagram hanging off the side of my screen, which is freaking me out a little bit. So the reason why we're doing this live broadcast today is I was granted LinkedIn Live access only a couple of days ago, and I'm trying to get the hang of it, obviously, because I haven't done one before. So what I thought of as the first sort of broadcast is to do a sort of live Q&A. So I've asked my audience for some questions to send in over the last couple of days. So thank you to everyone who sent in questions. I've kept all of the questions anonymous, by the way, because I didn't know who wanted to be publicised and who didn't want to be publicised. So apologies if you did want to be publicised and I haven't mentioned your name. But feel free as we go through the broadcast to send me in some comments, and I'll try as much as I can to answer as many comments as I possibly can during the broadcast, basically. So here we go. So the first question that I've had coming in, I've had a mixture of sort of personal questions versus business questions and recruitment all mashed into one. So I've tried to split them up as best as possible. First question: how's the family? Very well, thank you for asking. So for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a dad to three daughters, Rosie, Darcy, and Millie. Rosie is 5 years old. She just started primary school, and just around the corner actually, and she's loving it. Darcy and Millie are non-identical twins, and just turned a year old in July, so everyone's going good at the moment. No more babies to report, thankfully. I think we're done in that department. So the family is all good. Thank you very much for asking. Next question: how do you proactively market your services? So that's a really good question. For DigiTalent, what I would say is, we're kind of moving towards a more of a blended approach in the way that we market our services. So we're trying to mix. Up until probably about 3 months ago, we were very much relying on outbound marketing and business development activities. So reaching out to potential customers and clients and candidates, and I suppose trying to sell our services that way. Just like I suppose many small recruitment businesses, we've tended to sort of adopt a BD first approach. That doesn't mean cold calling from our perspective. We tend to do a lot of that, a lot of our BD activities through taking really good candidates to the market, for example, and sort of reverse marketing them into specific types of companies. So what we do is we work in a vertical market. So most of the stuff that we recruit for is either technology or creative type roles. And what we do is when we find a really good candidate, instead of sort of turning them away and saying we don't have anything for them right at that moment in time, what we tend to do is if the candidate's really good and we don't have anything for them, we'll try and take them to the market and drum up conversations for them. We do that in various ways. So we do it with a lot of video content. We use Audro for our video interview software, and we're big fans of Audro. So we try and you sort of take short snippets of the candidates and market their communication skills and personality and things like that in a sort of five minute video, just to showcase them in a natural kind of environment, and then we'll sort of try and tap up potential clients in that regard. what I said about mentioning about up to 3 months ago is because we recently engaged with Hoxo Media as our marketing agency, and we're really enjoying working with those guys. It's been fantastic so far. So we're trying to move towards a more blended approach of not just relying on outbound business development activities, but to sort of blend that versus outbound versus inbound, essentially. So we're going to be launching a podcast in January, which is sort of the wheels are in motion for that, and a lot of that is at planning stage at the minute. And we're sort of we've got lots of ideas, myself and the team, and we've been recording sort of test episodes in the background. So hopefully that'll help to add value. From a content perspective, we'll be able to send out long form audio content as well as short video content, blogs, and everything like that. We're revamping our website as well. So we're getting our homepage redesigned and a couple of the other pages, especially the part that's just to showcase what we do from a service perspective, which is a lot of that's around video interviewing. So yeah, that's how we kind of rely on it at the moment. If I look at the last 3 years of the business, and we're just going into that our birthday is in 2 days' time, and it will be our third birthday for Digitalent, and we'll be moving into the 4th year of the business. So the business is a little bit more mature now, which is great. And if I look back on all the clients that we've sort of worked with over the last 3 years, there's been a really good blend of different type. They've come from different places, really. So some of it's been from that reverse marketing candidates. We've won some fantastic clients, especially in Australia, from that type of approach. But quite a big chunk of it's come from word of mouth and sort of referrals, essentially. So we do a really good job for a candidate or a client, and then they refer us on to their network, which has been awesome. So can't really complain in that regard. So that's kind of how we approach things at the moment. So thank you very much for that question. I hope I answered it in the correct manner. Is that accent real? It is 100% real. This is like a raw Glaswegian, East End of Glasgow coming at you thick and fast. Funny though, because my accent now, I've lived away from Glasgow since I was 17. I moved to Newcastle to go to university there when I was 18, and it was four weeks after my 18th birthday, and I had sort of like probably just as bad a haircut as I have now, to be honest. It's wet like gel and like spots and all the rest of it. And when I landed in Newcastle, nobody could understand my accent. Everyone was answering yes to the things that I was saying, and I wasn't even asking them questions. So I figured out after a week of like Freshers Week that I had to dumb my accent down pretty much. So just to get by. So the way that I talk now is kind of similar to the way that we would if we were at school in Glasgow, the way that we would talk to a teacher or a doctor. It's very polite, and I pronounce a lot of my words, which a lot of people where I grew up in a place called Baillieston, which I'm very proud of. They don't talk like that, like I do, and they don't pronounce their words the way that I do. So whenever I go back to Glasgow or I'm with family and stuff, they're like, "Why are you talking like that?" So true story. Next question. What are the best platforms to use when you're a business based across 2 continents? That is a beast of a question. A very good question. So thank you for asking that one. So for any of you who know Digitalent, we are a completely distributed team. We're a small business in that there's 5 full-time employees, including myself, but we're spread across a vast geographical area. Well, now Dylan has just recently moved from Melbourne to New Zealand for 6-12 months. We don't really know yet. So at the moment, there's 5 of us, and we're based across 4 different time zones. So it's a very challenging thing to get right internally. For the business. And even pre-COVID, we were completely distributed. Everyone works from home. We do have a UK hub in Manchester, if you want to call it that, and the same in Melbourne, and we sort of have that on our website, obviously as our presence. But in terms of the day to day, we all work remotely, either from home or wherever we are at that moment in time, and that's always been the case. Like I said, even pre-COVID. So what the kind of tools that we rely on to run the business from that perspective is there's a number of them, but as you can imagine, anything that's cloud-based, any cloud-based software where you can sort of log in from any location, that's what we're after. We use Slack for all of our internal communications. We try not clog up our internal emails like many recruitment agencies do. And whenever I've worked for another recruitment agency, it's always been hectic, especially if you go away for 2 weeks and then come back. You come back to 1,000 emails and 985 of them are from internal people, and it's not relevant for you. So we use Slack for all of our internal columns, which works really well, and it integrates with various different types of platforms. Ask Nicely is our customer experience platform that we've had running for the last sort of 3 months or so, and that's been awesome for us because it collects real-time feedback from all of our candidates and clients that we've dealt with during the process, and it's been amazing, and that links to Slack, and we really enjoy using Ask Nicely. A couple of other key ones I've mentioned: Odro, which has been phenomenal for us to allow us to work remotely. It has different sides to it. You have obviously the live video interview side of the platform, where we can interview candidates and take over the first stage of the interview process away from our clients, which saves them a chunk of time during their recruitment process for every role. They basically give us 5 or 6 questions that they use at first stage interview, and we go away and interview the candidates online in a video meeting room, record it, and then send them the recording with some time-stamped questions along with the CV. So we don't just fire CVs. So that we found that even though we work remotely, the service level that we actually give to our clients is way higher than it would be if we were, let's say, inviting a candidate into the office and interviewing them face to face, and then trying to communicate exactly what that person's like to the client on an A4 bit of paper. It doesn't really compare, obviously, towards comparing that to a video interview. So we rely heavily on that, and that's been central to our business. Not just the live video interview part of it, but also Capture, which is a video messaging tool. We really use that to personalize our approach to candidates, and certainly use it from a business development perspective. And because we're all based remotely, we use that tool to sort of screenshot, and if I'm ever doing training or systems training with new starters or even new systems that pop up, then I can use that tool. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to put any platform that allows us to over communicate with each other, because you're not sat in the same room as the rest of the team. In fact, we've never actually been in the same room as a company together, all of us, which is crazy to think, but it works, and it only works because we are very, very clear with the communication between each other. The objectives that we set, and holding each other accountable. So that's another thing. And then the other one to kind of mention is JobAdder, which is our recruitment CRM. Again, it comes in a mobile app form. It's very user friendly. We store all of our recruitment workflow on there, so every live requirement that we have, anybody in the company can log in and see exactly where someone else is up to. You can see all the notes within the system on candidate profiles, etc. And it just keeps everything in one place. And like I said, you can log in from anywhere. So Dylan's a great example. He's just moved from Melbourne to New Zealand, and the transition for him has been seamless because everything's stored in the cloud. And he logged off in Melbourne, jumped on a plane, got to New Zealand. He was in quarantine for 2 weeks, sadly, but he was able to log on and sort of not have disconnected time when you're moving. I mean, in that example, moving countries basically. So those are some of the best platforms that we use to sort of keep the wheels in motion, so to speak. So there's loads more, but we could be here all day talking about the platforms that we use. We are heavily reliant on obviously software to keep our business running. Okay, next question. As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Wow, a few things. At one point, I wanted to be a stuntman when I was really, really young. And but I mean, all through my life, I think since I was probably 6 years old, always wanted to be a professional footballer. I was obsessed with playing football when I was growing up. I played with a team since I was 8 years old, all the way through my life until my first daughter was born, and she was born in 2015. So I've not played for a team since then, and I really miss it. I'm going to start crying. But I've always played football all through my life to a reasonably high standard. Started off as a right midfielder, right winger, and when I was at university, one of my best pals, Paul, managed to convince the manager for the university team, which I played for 5 years. That was my best ever time playing football. Managed to convince him to move me from right wing to centre midfield, so I saw a lot more of the ball, which I'm forever thankful to Paul for, because I just loved it. And I had the honour of playing for the university team, which was a fantastic team at the time. They just won the British University Championships the year before I arrived. So we were the British champions when I arrived, and I went on to play with them for 5 years, and 2 years as the first team captain. So those were my best ever times playing football. Miss those lads, because you were living with them, partying with them, and playing football with them. It's probably as close to a professional setup as you could probably get, without being professional. So, yeah. Next question. What are the biggest areas of development for you and your team going into 2021? Another fantastic question. So thank you very much for asking that. I mean, biggest areas for development for us is to achieve consistency as a team. It's been a roller coaster year for us, the same as it has for most businesses. But yeah, I mean, we really want to nail down our marketing strategy, which is in its sort of infancy at the moment. And I do think that once that's implemented, it will have a real big impact on how we do business and how we actually work as a team, because we'll be putting out a lot more content, and we'll be engaging with customers via marketing automation software like HubSpot and things like that. So yeah. So but the consistency thing is a big thing for us. If we can get everyone firing, it will mean that we can achieve our major objectives. We've got 3 major objectives for this year and for next year too. One of them's financial, one of them's growing the team as well. And yeah, I think if we can achieve some consistency in terms of the clients that we're working with, and obviously the sort of the placements that we make, and trying to add new clients to our already fantastic portfolio, then that's the biggest areas that we're looking at the moment. But we're also trying to develop our staff as much as possible, and upskill them in things like, the content side of things, and boosting their own personal brand, because, it's really important that from a niche recruitment perspective to get involved in, basically. So, So I've got a couple of questions which have just come in from LinkedIn. I'll show one. So Sharneil Sharma's just asked, how are recruiters coping with the current situation? It's been a tough market for some sectors. It has indeed, yeah. It's been very, very difficult. My heart went out in March to some of the people that were made redundant in the recruitment sector. It seemed like it was overnight at the time. It was really, really bad. And I also think that I suppose there's so many lessons to be learned from recruiters that have gone through this. Nobody saw it coming, the whole COVID situation, obviously, but I think everyone's learned a huge amount from what's transpired. What I would say is that the recruitment agencies who are aligned to one sector specifically, such as airlines, for example. I've heard some horror stories of some recruitment agencies who had chosen to set up the business to just service, let's say, for instance, IT within the airline industry, and overnight they lost all of their contractors, all of their clients. They literally went from smashing it to zero because they didn't have a diverse portfolio of clients. The way that we are set up as a business is slightly different. It's completely different in the sense that we're vertical specialists within technology and creative. By creative, I mean UX design and UI design, visual design, things like that. But we will work with clients from any industry. So up until now, we've worked with airlines, supermarkets, digital agencies, software houses, car retailers, sort of renewable energy companies. There's a huge array of different industries and I think that makes things a little bit easier from a recruitment perspective. When one industry dies down, another one fires up, and we're always looking to add new clients to our portfolio. But it's been tough. It's been a real emotional roller coaster. We had some hairy moments in the business, especially over in Australia with one of our biggest clients from a contract recruitment perspective over in Australia was one of the domestic airlines, and they went into administration, and that was a real emotional roller coaster for everyone involved at that time. So, but like I said to the guys right at the start, I had been through the GFC, the global financial crisis in 2008, and it does build resilience in recruiters when you come out the other side and you look back on it retrospectively and you think, if I can get through that and I can do a good job for my candidates and my clients through some of the worst market conditions you could ever possibly imagine, then it gives you the confidence to then attack other things, basically. So yeah, it's been a lot of recruiters are suffering, I think, from a mental health perspective, especially those who aren't used to working from home and maybe don't have the right conditions set up for that to work properly. So, but yeah, it's been a very, very tough market for some sectors indeed. But thanks for your question, Sharneil, much appreciated. I'll go on to the next question I've had come in from here. So what has been the biggest success of 2020 so far? That's a really, really hard question because I mean, there's a few things that I could probably think of, despite it being such a challenging year for the recruitment industry and for a lot of our clients and the lockdowns and everything. I think on a personal level, the biggest success that I can sort of bring out of 2020 so far has been keeping our team together. We haven't made any redundancies. We're obviously a very small team. Like I said, there's only 5 of us, but we've not let anyone go. We've stayed together, which I was very, very passionate about wanting to do because I felt like I had the right people on the bus when it all kicked off in March, and I was really passionate about trying to keep everyone together and sort of helping each other get through it. And touch wood, we have done so so far. So that's a personal one that I'm really, really proud of the fact that we've actually managed to come through it. We've also thought up really ingenious ways throughout the year of trying to add value to the clients that we have. So for instance, March and April in Australia, especially we had a big initiative where we were sort of doing recruitment for free for clients who just needed help, and we made a couple of really, really important placements for companies, one of which we'd worked with already, and another which was a completely new client to us. And I think that was something that I was really, really proud of, because it was genuinely altruistic in its intent, and we were not expecting anything back from it. And the guys, I think, were really, really happy that they had done that. Aside from that, in terms of like biggest successes, I think we've had an okay year in terms of financially. Probably about 75% of our initial target that we'd set back in January for both sides of the business in Australia and the UK. So we've done okay financially considering the market conditions, but we've dealt with some really fantastic clients along the way in the last year. We've also pretty much doubled in size in terms of the team, because Alex joined us in September of last year, so he's been with us a year. But Amy and Tom joined in January, within about a week of each other, and they were only with the business for 2 months when this whole thing kicked off. And so we've gone from just myself and Dylan to now 5 of us, and pretty much within the last year. And that's really added to our service offerings, and we've been doing a fantastic job for, like I said, our clients and our candidates. If you ever hear me saying customers, to us, our customers are clients and candidates, not just the clients who pay the bills, by the way. So I say it so often to the team, and we talk about our customers together, that people sometimes think I'm just talking about the clients. I'm not. I'm talking about both sides are equally as important to us, basically. So those are a couple of the main highlights in terms of successes that I would sort of pull on from this year. Next question. What advice do you have for a fresh grad around programming languages to share? Programming languages to focus on to ensure employability? That's a really tough question, a really good question. What I would probably say is that if I was a fresh grad and I wanted to get into the software industry, and it's something that we help out a lot of the grads that we place at various clients around the UK and Australia, and what I would probably say is try and do some research into, first of all, what you're passionate about. So you have to find out if you're more interested in things like web development, or if it's proper back-end kind of software engineering, or is it machine learning, or artificial intelligence, whatever interests you. You have to be interested and passionate about it for you to sort of stay the course with it, I would say. I would focus less around what specific programming languages to focus on, because the best engineers, the best software developers, programmers that I've ever known in my 15-year career in recruitment have been, to some extent, technology agnostic. They have an insatiable appetite for learning. They're always learning new things. Even for them, programming is more about a way of life. So they're always dabbling in new skills, new technologies, new languages, and trying to upskill themselves from there. So I don't think there's a silver bullet with regards to that answer to say if you focus on these three languages, then you won't go far wrong. But the obvious things to think about are new, sort of, for instance, if you're interested in web development, look at new JavaScript technologies. There's a whole ton of them out there at the moment, and have been for the last few years. So I would research more into that, and also obviously mobile development as well. None of the web development, mobile development, and some of the sort of new up and coming technologies are here to here to stay. So I would just focus more around what interests you, and sort of position it that way. But you can do a ton of research on things like LinkedIn. So if you want to work for, make a list even of like 10 or 15 companies that really interest you and you want to work at. Have a look at some of the skills that they employ. So for instance, if they got 25 web developers who work for them, or mobile developers, look at the skills that these guys actually have, and then look into it, dabble with it, taste as many as you can, and then try and go deep in a few. I think that's probably the way that I would approach it if I was a fresh grad entering into this market. So yeah, thanks for the question. How do you stay motivated all the time? The simple answer is I don't. I don't think anyone can. Motivation to me is very fickle. It comes and goes. Some days I'm motivated, other days I'm definitely not. And I'm going through the motions. A lot of people ask me this because they see my morning routines on places like Instagram. I always share a photo at a time when I get up, just to motivate people a little bit. Because I get up super early, because I like to work out in the morning, and I always got a busy life in terms of the business, Australia and the UK, and also busy family life. So early in the morning is really, really important for me to work out. But what I would say is, so people see that and they think that I'm like this crazy, super motivated guy who's just like, all the rest of it. I am motivated some of the time, but not all of the time. And I think I just think that's true for any human being. Not everyone is motivated all of the time. And if you're relying on solely motivation to allow you to get done what you need to get done and get through the tasks that you need to get through, either whether that's in work or whether that's in your personal life, then you're going to come a cropper. I truly believe that, because like I said, motivation comes and goes. So what I've learned since sort of studying more into it and trying to practice it, and through things like waking up early, is self-discipline. And now I realize that the importance of self-discipline on that. And Nick Beecroft, if you're watching, which you should be, you'll know what I'm talking about. Me and Nick were talking about self-discipline, because he was saying he was trying to get back into his fitness since being over lockdown and everything like that. And I recommended a book to him by a guy called Jocko Willink, who I follow, who's an ex-US SEAL Navy sort of commander. And he wrote a book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And I read that book about 3 years ago, and it honestly changed my life, because I just tried to implement some of the things, such as waking up early and doing everything like that. And when you understand self-discipline, and you are able to, after a period of time, with things like, if I take waking up as an example, so when my alarm goes off at 4:45 in the morning, it's horrific. I don't bounce out of bed. I still have that voice in my head that says, just hit snooze and roll over, forget about it. You deserve a lie in, you worked hard yesterday. All this sort of mediocrity going round your head. I try and shut that voice down in my head and listen more to the guy who's telling me more aggressively to get up, basically. And I think that once you understand that, you can actually use that in other areas of your life, so that even if you're not feeling like you're motivated and you don't want to do something, you make yourself do it. So it doesn't matter what the circumstances are or the excuses, you just make yourself do it. So if it's raining in the morning, I get up, look out the window, and it's 4:54 in the AM, and it's lashing it down. I'll just make myself go. I'll just make myself do it. So that's what I would say about motivation. You can't rely on motivation to get you through life. You have to rely more on self-discipline, I would say. Predictions for the recruitment market in 2021. That is a really almost impossible crystal ball type question. What I would say is I'm an eternal optimist. I do believe in the power of positive thinking, and I think if we all sat around watching BBC News 24-hour coverage, we'd be clinically depressed, and that's why I tend not to watch the news most of the time. So I think the recruitment market is it's full of very resilient, innovative, ingenious people and companies who they've been through a lot in the past, like the global financial crisis, and a lot of companies were formed under that cloud and have come away from it smelling like roses. So I think only good things are going to happen in 2021, because there's a lot of companies have had to figure out this year and reposition the way that they approach recruitment for their own company, recruitment for their clients. They're having to do things all remotely, but whilst always maintaining a very high service level for their customer base, for their clients and their candidates. So I think certainly in the tech market that we're aligned to, in creative market, I think it'll be buoyant. Creative suffered a little bit, especially with larger organizations who might have things like innovation centers. So if they have like a lot of research and development type designers within their teams, a lot of them have been hit quite hard, because it's almost seen as a luxury within larger organizations, especially during times like this. But I think that'll change in 2021, because design is at the core of everything that we do, especially online and in this digital world. On the tech side of things, I think we've seen a steady, if not a rise in demand for things like software engineers, and I think that will continue. Especially in certain industries, things like e-commerce, for example, and retail and digital agency land, banking. I mean, there's so many areas like that. I think the recruitment market in general is very resilient, and I'm not worried about it at all. I think people will figure this out, and they'll get through it. And there's a tremendous amount of opportunity out there for people who are willing to innovate, properly innovate, and keep iterating on that, and always trying to be thinking about how they're going to put themselves out of business and not resting on the laurels. So I think that the individuals, the recruitment business leaders, the recruitment companies, and even consultants who are tired of working for companies who don't value that innovative approach to servicing their customers, and who start their own things in 2021, I welcome that. I think I always hear that people saying, I saw somebody post something on LinkedIn not so long ago saying the last thing that anyone needs is another recruitment agency. I actually disagree with that statement quite passionately. I think we need as many recruitment agencies who are really, really good as possible. And if that means more, then so be it. And, I just think, I think there's a whole heap of talent out there who are consultants at the moment in 2020, who have gone through a lot. They're sat there thinking, I could do a better job myself, or myself and my friend sat next to me. We have all these ideas we're not listened to. There's no real leadership in the company that I'm working for at the moment. If those individuals go on to build the next best recruitment agency in 2021, there's a serious chunk of the pie and opportunity for people who think like that. So I think that 2021 will be a great year for the recruitment market in general, and that's across perm and contract and executive hires, I would say. Next question. Will Neil Lennon still be the Celtic manager at Christmas? I would like to think so. Celtic got beat off AC. Anyone who doesn't know, I'm a huge Celtic fan. Celtic got beat off AC Milan last night 3-1 at Celtic Park, and we got beat off Rangers 2-0. I think it was, although my memory's hazy. I've tried to blank it out off my memory. at the weekend, basically. So yeah, it remains to be seen. But personally, I think there's been too much chat about Celtic winning 10 in a row. And I think that's led to a lot of complacency, really, amongst the team and the fans. And people need to stop talking about the 10 in a row thing and just focus on winning the next match. That's what I would do if I was the Celtic manager, which I'm not, thankfully. Okay, I think this is the last question, guys. Coming right up. Okay, so what tools should job seekers be using other than job boards? Another great question. If I try and keep this succinct, if we're talking about job search strategy, which I think we are, and if I was a job seeker at this moment in time, I certainly would not be relying on what I would call a reactive job search strategy. And when I say reactive job search strategy, what I mean is relying on soften job adverts online and seeing what jobs are advertised and applying to them with the same CV and hoping for the best. And that's when you hear all these horror stories from people saying, I applied for 485 jobs and I got 3 responses. Those people are probably not tailoring their CV to suit every role that they apply for, which I definitely recommend that they do. And the difference between a reactive and a proactive job search strategy is what I would say is that you have to certainly do both. So keep your eye on the job adverts that are going up for sure. But that's probably, I would probably say that's less than 50% of the jobs that are actually advertised out there in the market at any one time. There's definitely a huge hidden jobs market, certainly within tech and creative, what we see anyway. And what I mean by hidden jobs market is that for a lot of the roles, really niche roles like UX designers, a certain type of software engineers, a recruitment agency or an end client company who are thinking about advertising for those roles. Advertising costs a lot of money, especially in places like LinkedIn, and there's a job website in America, in Australia called Seek, which completely monopolizes the market. They're very expensive to use. Job adverts cost a lot of money, and companies know that for certain types of roles, they're going to lose money, excuse me, by advertising the job. So a lot of the roles that are out there in the market aren't advertised. So if you're relying solely on applying to job adverts that you can see on job boards, you're not even scratching the surface. What I would do is, depending on what you do for a living, I would seek out and do some research into specialist recruitment agents who focus on what it is that you do. Before you do that, what I would do is I would update your LinkedIn profile to make it, fill it out with a lot of the relevant information and keywords, and fill out your about section, get a good headshot profile on there, and you basically use that to then reach out to individuals on LinkedIn. As most of you have seen, you've got if you send an invite to someone, you have a 300 character sort of space if you want to add in some more context as to why you want to sort of connect with an individual, whether that's a direct hiring manager or whether it's a recruiter who specializes in the role that you're going for. I would use that to add in some context as to why you want to connect with the person, and it gives them a little bit more information as to your reasons, and sort of being able to personalize the approach that you have to them. Once you're connected with people, what I would start doing as well is, for those of you who are comfortable with it, is within the LinkedIn app that you can record videos. Some of you might not know that. I would send a short 30-second video to recruiters and to people internally within companies that you want to work for, to say, hey, my name's Chris, I'm a software engineer, I'm out of work at the moment, or I've just finished a contract, I'm really interested in working for your company, or I'm really interested in building a relationship with you as a recruiter, wonder if you had 5 minutes to jump on a call. Nobody's doing that. No candidate is doing that. The candidates that I see a lot of are kind of adopting the same approach they would have adopted 10, 15 years ago, which is to check job boards and and apply from there. Have that proactive mindset where you've sort of almost take it. It's kind of like what we do from a business development perspective within our recruitment agency. Make a list of companies that you want to work for. Make a list of recruitment agencies who specialize in what you do. Fill out your LinkedIn profile so that it's attractive, and you'll come up, because LinkedIn is essentially a searchable database for recruiters. Recruitment agencies like us, we pay a lot of money for what's called recruiter licenses or sales navigator licenses, and we use it as a kind of searchable database when we're trying to headhunt candidates, of which we do a lot of. Most of the roles that we recruit for on behalf of our clients are very much in a headhunt approach. So we're reaching out to candidates to sort of introduce the company, sell them the opportunity, and to sort of engage with them on that basis. So make that list. Plump out your LinkedIn profile, make it look as attractive as possible, and then start reaching out to people proactively. Try and get video calls arranged or phone calls arranged with either people internally who are working at these companies, and that could be like the hiring managers or who you think are the hiring managers, or the people that are actually doing that job at the moment. I would leave no stone unturned, especially in this market. If I was a job seeker, I would be so proactive in trying to do as much as I can proactively. And then you're covering both camps. You're doing the reactive thing where you're keeping your eye on job boards and setting up job alerts from places like LinkedIn and job boards in the UK, for example, and places like Reed and JobSite and JobServe and CW Jobs and all that. And in Australia, Seek, for example, and then do the proactive side of things as well. I think that would help massively. And the video thing would just set you apart, because if you're comfortable doing it, literally just a 30-second video, introduce who you are and why you want to connect, and it would I can count on probably 2 fingers the amount of times that's happened to us as a whole recruitment agency, and we would all be talking about it if it did happen, because we think it's amazing. We're big believers in video anyway. Counting 2 fingers the amount of times that candidates have done that to us individually over the last couple of years. It just hasn't happened, and I think it should happen a little bit more. Okay, so I think that's us, guys. So yeah, awesome. Thanks very much for tuning in, guys. I hope that was brought some of you some value. I really appreciate you tuning in live, and yeah, if you're watching this back, thank you very much for your time for watching it back, and I'll speak to you guys again soon. If any of you want to ask me any questions in the follow-up, feel free to comment on the posts, and I'll try my utmost to get back to everyone who leaves a comment or a question. If you don't feel comfortable doing it publicly, then send me a direct message, and I hope to speak to you all soon. Thank you very much.